I told you that I would dive in here and open phone lines for anybody who disagrees with the argument that I am about to lay out about why responding to Iran is in very much U.S. interest. 800-282-2882. Okay, so Buck and I were in the Oval Office on Thursday a couple of hours before with Donald Trump. J.D. Vance swung by to visit a couple of hours before the attack began on Iran by Israel. In the ensuing several days, much of Iran's nuclear capabilities have been attacked to a great degree. And overall, I would say the Israeli attacks have been unprecedented in their substance and their lack of human casualties outside of government and military and nuclear arms related connections. That is, there have been very few innocent Iranians who have been the victim of Israel's highly targeted attacks. Meanwhile, Iran has been just throwing as many missiles as it can into Israel without primarily targeting military-related installations. They're just trying to kill as many people in Israel as they can. And so the attacks, as they were, on behalf of Israel are very targeted. On behalf of Iran, they are very haphazard. And I think this ties in with the overall story, and the long march of history can be difficult. But I do think that we have to contextualize what we are now seeing happen in Iran and Israel in the wake of what I believe is going to go down as one of the most awful decisions ever made by an attacking party. Ben Shapiro was on with us last week, and I think he referred to October 7th, 2023 as the Hamas version of Pearl Harbor. And I think that is an accurate description. For those of you who remember your history, Winston Churchill had been doing everything he could to get the new world, that is us in the United States, to save the old world, that is Europe, from Adolf Hitler. But until Japan attacked us on December 7th, 1941, America had avoided entering into World War II. We did not want to make that fight our own. We did not seek it until we were attacked in a sneak attack on December 7th, 1941. And that was when FDR decided we have to go to war. And that was effectively, even though it was an incredibly successful attack on our Pacific Fleet, that was effectively Japan and Germany signing their death warrants in that war. And we would go on to liberate all of Europe and be a unique force of good. I believe October 7, 2023, having traveled over there last December, as I have talked about quite a bit, having been to the kibbutzes, having been to the north with the border with Lebanon, having looked out upon all of Gaza, having heard bombs going off in Gaza, having gone to the music festival, having been all over Israel, I believe it's important to characterize this as a war between good and evil. Some of you are going to disagree. You are welcome to call in and tell me why I am wrong. But to me, having seen all of this myself, October 7, 2023 was Hamas invading Israel solely because they wanted, I believe, to stop peace in the Middle East. And so they attacked because they were afraid that Saudi Arabia was going to normalize relations with Israel through the Abraham Accords, which Donald Trump, Jared Kushner, and others have worked out. And if that were to occur, Hamas would have been further isolated. Iran would have been further isolated. Hezbollah would have been further isolated. And so would Syria. I don't know what Hamas thought Israel would do, but Israel responded with the force of 1,000 lions, and they have wreaked havoc. They have wiped out Hamas and their Gaza base. They have wiped out Hezbollah and their base in Lebanon. And Assad has fallen in Syria, and he has been replaced by a non-Iranian fronted government. So Iran has been standing alone, rapidly advancing towards obtaining nuclear weapons. I don't blame the Ayatollah for wanting nuclear weapons because effectively that would allow him to become the North Korea of the Middle East, the Kim Jong-un of the Middle East. Kim Jong-un has nuclear weapons in North Korea because otherwise he wouldn't exist. It is a protective shield for him. But also, as they have continued to expand their ballistic missile capabilities, it is an existential threat to the world because you have a madman with access to nuclear weapons, and what happens if he decides to push that button? Lots of us could die, okay? We should have, as a general rule in America, a policy of crazy people shouldn't have nuclear weapons. We should have fewer countries that have access to eradicating massive amounts of people with one push of a button. Iran was close to joining Kim Jong-un. I wish, personally, we could take Kim Jong-un out. I wish the Koreas could be reunited. I think at some point they will, much like East and West Germany were. But in the meantime, you got a crazy man with nuclear weapons. Why should we not stop a country, if we can, in any way assist a country that is led by crazy, zealot, religious leaders from having nuclear weapons? All we have done so far is allow Israel to defend itself from what it believes is an existential crisis where it could be wiped out at any point in time. This is a no-brainer. Now, I'm not saying that I support American soldiers going into Iran. I don't. I think the Iraq War was an unmitigated disaster. I think George W. Bush and Dick Cheney failed completely in the way that they responded to try to tie Iraq into 9/11. I think Iraq was a mess. Many of you out there listening to me right now lost friends and family members. We spent trillions of dollars of our American capital, of our American blood, in a country that had no interest in us being there. And we left it, to my measure, not much better than it would have been if Saddam Hussein had stayed in position of power and there were no WMDs, weapons of mass destruction. That has all been proven by history. But just because Iraq was a mess and we had poor American leadership decisions being made, both Democrat and Republican, when it came to the Iraq War, does not mean that Iran is not a threat and that the world can't flourish in the Middle East and that the Iranian people don't deserve better leadership. I don't know whether we should have Iran decapitated of the Ayatollahs if Israel does it. In an ideal world, the Iranian people would rise up. They would overthrow the two-generation-plus leadership of the Ayatollahs, and in some way they would return the royal family that was providing immeasurable amounts of freedom to them prior to that 1979 revolution. And if that were to happen, I think what Trump has dangled out there to much of the Middle East is, let's stop fighting over religion, whether you're a Jew, whether you're a Christian, whether you're of the Muslim faith, heck, if you're of the Hindu faith. Let's just build economic success regardless of what our religious differences might be. Let's allow economic success to lift the global tide of economic growth. And I think many of the Middle Eastern countries understand that. They're sitting on massive amounts of oil. They can invest in so many other things and make their country not entirely determined on oil, because at some point in time, I don't know how many hundreds of years of oil Saudi Arabia has, for instance. Maybe it's much less than that. Their economy is going to have to pivot from oil to other things. They get it. They're rational leaders. They're making rational decisions. Iran's leadership is not. If Israel put down its weapons today, the country would not exist in a week. They would run over Israel. They would wipe them out. If every Middle Eastern country put down their weapons, we would have peace in the Middle East. If we can remove the Ayatollahs, I believe that peace and prosperity, comparatively, can flourish once again in the Middle East. For the Persian people out there, their history is a proud one of strong economic and scientific success that has been taken back in time by everything that has occurred surrounding this last two generations of dictatorial leadership by men that won't even let women wear skirts or dresses and walk around without full body coverings in the hot heat of a desert. The people of Iran do not like these leaders. They fear them. But what Israel is exposing is that their power is a myth, that the generational claim that they were going to be able to wipe Israel off the map was a lie. It only took a day or two for Israel to completely overwhelm all Iranian defenses. If Israel is such a weak and misguided country, why are they so technologically superior to Iran, a once proud country? It's because Israel has leaned into economic growth and basic human rights. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this, but it's Pride Month. You know what Israel had to do because they were being attacked by Iran? Cancel all their Pride marches. There's an awful lot of left-wingers in America. How many Pride marches does the rest of the Middle East have? Any? Western civilization brings freedom, no matter what your race is, no matter what your gender is, no matter what your sexuality is, that has still been unequaled throughout the course of human history. Civilization, Western ideals on some measure of economic growth through capitalism is the true salvation for the Iranian people. You can be any religion that you want to be, but shouldn't you live in a country that is led by people with basic, rational decision-making that lifts up everyone around them instead of just trying to tear down the Jewish people? And shouldn't America be on the side of every country with basic, rational, Western-style capitalistic values, regardless of what the religion underpinning those values might be? To me, Trumpism is directly correlated with economic freedom for every person around the world. And when we can provide economic freedom to everyone or anyone, whether they're Saudi, whether they're Indian, wherever they are, the ultimate goal, in my opinion, of American policy should be that every country is uplifted through embracing capitalism and basic freedoms and human rights around the world. So anytime we can advance that, and that's what overthrowing the Ayatollahs would do, I think that is in the very definition of American interest. Because a rational, capitalist-focused Iran would bring way more benefits to the average American than the leadership that they have right now. Maybe you disagree. You can weigh in. 800-282-2882. In the meantime, if you're watching NBA, NHL Finals, boy, oh boy, do we have two different series that have provided a lot of entertainment, especially the NHL. Unfortunately, my Atlanta Braves are a dumpster fire, but maybe your baseball team is doing a little bit better. Regardless of what sport you like, we just had an incredible, you see that, what is it, 65-foot putt that the guy hit yesterday to win the U.S. Open? What an incredible putt that was to walk off at the U.S. Open after all the rain delay. 60-some-odd feet. Whatever sport you love, whether it's hockey, whether it's baseball, whether it's golf, whether it's racing, you can join Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. You can play it in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia if you've been feeling left out. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use my name, Clay, as the promo code. You'll get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code Clay on Prize Picks. $50 instantly when you play $5. Win or lose, $50 just for playing. Go to prizepicks.com. Use my name, Clay. That's prizepicks.com. My name, Clay, California, Texas, 40 states, Georgia. You can play along with me. Prizepicks.com, code Clay for $50.